podcast, Cinderella Chats. I'm your host, Cinderella Field. Yes, that's really my name, along with your co-host, Sandy Hunter. We are so excited to be here to share some insight about life, love, and relationships. So let's get to it. Hi, Jenny. How are you?
I'm well. Thank you.
You're welcome. I'm so excited about having you on the podcast today. And I mean, just the way that it happened, I think is amazing. But I'm going to let you share that with our listeners. So tell us about the day of the garage sale, because that's how we ran into each other again.
Yes. We came to the neighborhood garage sale, and I was about to leave the neighborhood because I thought it was closing down. It was around noon, and I said to my friend, I said, no, that one's closed. Let's just go. And so I drove back around because she said, no, it's open. Let's go there. I said, okay. So I stopped in there and I ran into Cinderella. And I was so surprised because I knew that I had spoken to her before on the phone years ago. And there was a call on the radio about abortion, and so I called in and I spoke with Cinderella, and then later, like at the garage sale, I was just so surprised to meet her in person and said, I know that I've spoken with you before, and this is not just some accident that I just stopped by here. I'm like meant to meet you. It's like a God thing. And so we became friends, and she asked me if I'd be interested in speaking on her podcast. And I said, sure. I've been through a lot of things, abortion, divorce. So I decided to come and speak with her today.
And so here we are. So this is my recollection. Doing a podcast is a little nerve-wracking, is it not?
Yes.
I mean, it makes me a little nervous, yes. It still makes me nervous when I get behind the mic and I start talking to the other person on the other side of the table. But here we are, and so I will never forget the day of the garage sale because it was so incredible. I really was in the process of shutting it down. And here come these two women, and it was Jenny and her friend, and she just looked at me, and after I said, "Hi, my name is Cinderella, la la la," and she goes, "I know you." I said, "Really?" And she said, "Yes." She said, "I spoke to you over the phone because I heard you on the radio, and it was about abortion." Well, that was 13 years ago. 13 years ago when I became a national trainer for a post-abortion healing program that was biblically based to help heal abortive women. And it was called Surrendering the Secret. And I got involved in it because I walked through a journey, an incredible, very special journey with someone near and dear to my heart. And so I was in charge of at Asbury. Asbury is the one that decided that they would take it on, which I was really surprised and very thankful for. And we had Sherry Rigby there, and that did October Baby, and the person that I was married to at the time, my husband, helped me to coordinate all of those things, including filling up a movie theater for October Baby so that we could raise awareness about abortion and post-abortive women that had not forgiven themselves because it's such a hard thing to go through. And so anyway, I gave Jenny my card and I put her in my phone as Jenny Garage Sale. Immediately. She didn't know that. And I said, do call me sometimes and let's go have coffee or get together. And so it was a few weeks later and I was sitting in my chair. I do devotion sometimes in that chair, and the phone rang, and I looked at it, and it said, "Jenny garage sale," and I'm like, "Oh my goodness." So I answered, and we just started talking, and she said, "I'm really nervous about calling you, but I just feel like God wants me to call you because I just want to talk about some things." And so I invited her to be on the podcast. And here she is today.
Mhm.
So, Jenny, what's on your heart to share with our listeners? Do you want to share what you went through when you went through a divorce after being married for 13 years
Mhm.
and you started dating again? We'll just start from there. You want to?
Mhm. Okay. Right. Being married for 13 years, divorced now for about 25 years. Not, dating is very hard. I tried it the first I didn't date like the first whole year after I was divorced because I was just working, on myself. My kids were little. I didn't want them getting to know any men that would date. It was hard to trust anyone. One guy that I did date ended up being married. He didn't tell me that. He told me he was going through a divorce. I ended up, having an abortion. That's why years ago, 13 years ago, when I reached out to Cinderella, I was just driving to church one day and heard that on the radio and decided to give it a call because I was going through a lot of things. Like, I blocked it out for many years, and then I saw one of my good friends having a baby. It just brought all of that stuff back again. All those emotions, all that guilt and shame and not feeling like I was forgiven. I know now that God has forgiven me, but I just couldn't forgive myself. I thought, how could I do such a thing? I'm a Christian. I would never do something like that. But then when you're in the situation, it's different because I felt forced to do it. Like didn't want to do it, but it's just something I did at the time, and it took a long time to forgive myself, and I know that God has forgiven me. But dating is really hard, and I don't think I'm gonna get married again. I've been married one time, and I am just waiting for God to bring me that right person. I'm just waiting because if it's right, then I'll know. Because I did not pick the best guys. I've been through some bad dating experiences, and I just knew that, God had something better for me and that I am forgiven for the past mistakes that I made. So,
And would you say you just have a real heart's desire to follow the word of God and to follow what he puts in front of you now?
yes, I do. I seek him and I want to do what he wants me to do. Part of that is why I really felt in my heart that I needed to reach out to you and talk about some of these things because I've been through them. I've experienced this, had a pretty rough childhood. My parents got divorced. I got divorced. My son just got divorced. I think that we really need to break the cycle and make our family and marriages more important, more priority. Yes, yes. And not have these toxic relationships that I've had in the past. I feel like people are just, in the moment, they're just thinking in the moment and being selfish and what they want and just leaving their families and not even thinking about how that affects the whole family, not just your children, but the whole family.
The extended family, yes.
Right.
Mhm. Mhm. Because monkey see, monkey do, do you remember that?
Oh, yeah.
Hear no evil, say no evil, do no
Right.
yeah.
Block it out.
Mhm. Yeah.
Just do what you wanna do.
Yeah, and that's what the world tells us today, right? It's
Mhm.
okay. That's not a big deal.
Life's too short. You gotta be happy, they say, so do what you wanna do.
I've never seen anything in the Bible that says we're supposed to be happy. We're supposed to be content. And I've seen the word joyful, but happiness is just a temporary state of mind and just an emotion that's a feeling that's temporary. And just like with marriage, I mean, marriage is hard. I do believe God set it up in a way that represents the kind of relationship he wants to have with each and every one of us. And so I think the best way that he thought to do it and to, of course, to have children and procreate that sort of thing, that's the way he set it up so that other people could see it as an example of, two become one and you involve him and,
Right.
a three chords cannot be broken, that sort of
Mhm.
thing.
Mm.
So, but he never said, I mean, Jesus said himself, if you follow me, it's going to be rough. Well,
Mhm.
guess what? When you say I do, it's going to be not easy all the time
Right.
because we're human beings
Mhm.
and living with another person. I mean, you have your own idea of what things need to be like. And that's why it's so important going into a marriage to know that you're evenly yoked, that you're both believers,
Mhm.
because that's who you have to go and run to and depend upon is God.
Yes.
So, and unfortunately, women just want to fall in love, get married, do all those things, have children. That's the way God made us.
Mhm.
And sometimes it just gets us into a pickle, don't you think?
Oh, yes. I agree.
Tell us a little bit about how you met your first husband.
Well, I was living in Arizona at the time, and I was pretty young. Were both 23, and he was in the military, so we met there, and we had to get married pretty quickly, like 6 months, like within 6 months, because being in the military, he was getting ready to go somewhere. So to go with him, we had to get married, and we did, and we got married in the church, and I didn't really grow up being in church, and his family was Catholic. We did get married in church, but we were married for 13 years. See, after being married 3 years, we had our first son, so I have 2 boys. And then we moved here to Oklahoma, so it pretty much started 13 years. He started cheating on me, so that's the reason why we got divorced. I had a really hard time with it. We tried counseling, we tried to, stay together. The kids they were little, and it was hard for me. I had to struggle with this because I thought God hates divorce. You're a Christian, you shouldn't get a divorce. But it happened, we got divorced. And it's hard being a single mom. I had to, work 2 jobs for many years, and I just didn't have time nor want to date or bring any other man into it to complicate situation. Like my boys are very very protective of me. I'm very protective of them.
Mm-hmm. As they should be, and you should be as a mother. Yeah.
Right.
Mm.
So I kind of just tried dating and that it didn't really work out. I mean, as they got older, they did meet, some one particular person that was like we were kind of in a long-term relationship. But I guess it was never gonna turn into being to marriage. It was never gonna, I never wanted it to be anything so serious as to that it would lead to marriage.
Did the boys like him?
No,
Like him?
they didn't like any of them. But it wouldn't have mattered who it was. They wouldn't like them, I'm sure.
Really? Oh, I mean, can you imagine? I mean, I've never had to do it, putting together a blended family.
Right?
But as you talked about, I mean, I didn't have an easy childhood. My parents married and divorced each other several times. And my father remarried, and so did my mother. And then they divorced. But I never felt comfortable around anyone that they ended up married to because it wasn't my mother, it wasn't my father, you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
it's just I don't know, to me, it would just be odd, and that's another thing that just like you, I
Mhm.
mean, thought through because I have a lot of friends that have tried it, and they're very, very careful when they start dating someone before they introduce them to their children,
Mhm.
and I just thought, "Oh my gosh, that would just" I mean, I just went through a whole series of, like, what would it be like for someone else to live in the house with me and me to get used to their, what they do, their
Right.
smells, seeing, trying to imagine someone else brushing their teeth in the bathroom with me, like, the things
Yeah.
that you do as a married
Right.
couple.
Right.
And, having dinner with them and just, being around my children. What would we talk about when there's no history?
Mhm.
I mean, it was just I mean, I was just like, "That doesn't even make sense to me." You
Right.
know what I'm saying?
Right.
And the covenant that I took when I married my husband. So, I get it. I get it. I get it that it's hard
Mhm.
to date these days.
Mhm.
And in the conversations that we've had before, I mean, what is some of the first things that a guy says to you when, you start talking to him? What do they try to get
They
to
wanna
happen
they
almost immediately?
Right, they wanna have sex with you right away, like on your first date or something.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, and I
They
don't
don't wanna get to
feel
know you.
comfortable with that. It's like
No.
a stranger. I've been single for so long. Honestly, I can't even imagine somebody sleeping in the same bed with me.
Exactly.
I slept in alone or my dog in the bed.
Mhm.
That's it.
Why can't we find companions like our dogs? I don't know. Do you? Mine does the same thing. I mean, he follows me around everywhere he sleeps with me, and it's just like,
It's like he comes and checks on me,
mhm.
and then he'll go and get in his bed. He won't stay in my bed the whole night. He'll just come in and lay there for a little bit and make
Mhm.
sure it's like, "You're okay, you're going to sleep," and then I'll go get in my bed.
Jude does the same thing. He'll sleep right next to me, and then he'll go down to the corner of the bed
Mhm.
because I have a king size bed.
Oh,
So it's,
okay.
you know what I mean?
Right.
So, but it's just like, I mean, and they just love you no matter what. They're so happy to see you when you come home.
Yes.
All of those things,
I know.
and
So
even when you
nice.
yes, and even when you get upset with them, they're so forgiving.
Mhm.
So why can't people be more like dogs?
Right, I agree.
That would be nice, you know?
Yes.
So you don't do much dating, and you went through the deal that you went through with the guy that you started dating about a year after the divorce that
Mhm.
ended up in an unexpected pregnancy. And you had to heal yourself from that, and God is so good because He's full of grace and mercy.
Mhm.
When you ask Him for it, repent and turn away from your sin, right?
Right.
And then working, you've told me that you worked 2 jobs. Was
Mhm.
there no alimony? Was there no child support after your divorce?
The alimony was temporary and there was child support, but it was very low and I could never take him back. for back to court to increase it because the attorneys, I mean, and the fee, all the cost of the divorce itself. And I never took him back to increase it as he made more money in the years. So all those years, it was one amount that was very low for 2 children. So it was difficult. That's why I had to work 2 jobs.
And because he was in the military, did you go through a different divorce process, or did you just use civilian divorce attorneys? And how did you what did you find that to be like?
I felt like they really it wasn't my side of the story was, like, disregarded because when I said the reason why the divorce would be for adultery,
Mhm.
they took that out. It they
That's
didn't
what I've
want
heard.
to hear that because of his military career.
Mhm.
They didn't want that in the record on the record.
Mhm. Mhm. Because things have there it's no fault divorce.
Right.
So I was told it's no fault divorce, so the judges really don't pay any attention to that anyway,
Mhm.
even though we still are in a state, in the state of Oklahoma, that fault divorce could be used. The attorneys refuse to use it.
Mhm.
And then the attorneys so you went through a military divorce.
No, it was civilian.
It was civilian.
Mhm.
But they made it clear that they didn't want that on his record. He did, probably.
Yes, yes, made it clear.
Opposing counsel did.
Mhm.
I mean, that's what happens, and, I mean, it's a statistical fact that whatever men lose in going monetarily through a divorce, they recoup within 2 to 2.5 years, and women never recoup it.
Right,
Never.
right.
And most of them end up in I mean, at poverty level.
Yeah, true.
And that's I think that's the reason that they feel so compelled to have to try to find another mate is
Mhm.
to help them raise their children and take on some of the financial burden and responsibility.
Right.
Wouldn't you say that's true to some extent?
Yes, I agree. That is true. I s I struggled, but I made it. I had God, a lot of prayers, church, and I just was a fighter. I mean, I was like, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do it." And I made it. It's hard. Yeah, you have to work. I had to work 2 jobs. I missed a lot of things from my son's school, and your children just grow up so fast, and you've missed it because you're working all the time. I was working all the time. Had to. So I missed a lot of things that I couldn't go to his functions at his school or something like that.
Yeah, because they had to put food on the table
Mhm.
and pay a mortgage
Right.
so that they had a roof over their head, right?
Mhm. Right.
And you had to be both mom and dad.
Yes.
Yes. So it's a struggle.
Mhm.
And it usually really does fall on the part of the woman's shoulders. It just does.
Mhm. Yeah.
So it's very, very difficult. And I don't know if I told you this or not, but that's one of the reasons that I started the podcast was, first of all, I am a strong, strong believer in marriage and the covenant of marriage and, and of course, God. And the things that I encountered during the divorce and the legal system, oh my gosh,
Mhm.
it needs to be reformed. It just really does.
Mhm.
And so I did a lot of research before I even started the podcast. It went on for 6 years before I started the podcast, and I went through the divorce for 3 years, so I had to shut everything down because, first of all, I was emotionally just so
Right.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
It was devastating to me. I cried every day for 7.5 months.
Mm. Wow.
Until one day I woke up and I was like, "I'm not crying today." So, but it didn't mean that I wasn't sad. It was still I mean, I still have times, even today, when I think about certain things when I go through holidays or birthdays with my children. I mean, we don't talk about anything that went on in the past. It's like I have to forget everything that happened because they don't want to hear it because it brings up pain.
Mhm.
Right. That's what I think people don't realize is that it doesn't just affect the couple,
Mhm.
it affects the children and then the extended family. Wouldn't you say so?
Oh, yes, for sure.
Mhm.
Definitely.
Because these
Yeah.
people were all apart. I mean, you were married for 13 years. That's not a short time.
Right.
I was married for 27 years and before the divorce was final for 30 years. And I mean, that's a lot of history.
Mhm.
How do you go on and start a new relationship with someone that you have no history with when you have
Right.
children? And it sounds like you moved around too and supported his career in the military. I did the same thing. He wasn't in the military, but we moved many times for his career. So
Right.
that's what women do. We take care of the home.
Mhm.
And so I just think that it's very hard on us emotionally. And then men have a tendency, my friend says they swing from tree to tree
Mhm.
because they can't stand being alone,
Right.
you know,
Right.
especially when they've been in long term marriages. So, did your husband go on to get married to someone else?
Yes, he did, and that didn't work out. She had children, and then he kind of made her children his priority over his own children,
Uh huh. That's usually what happens.
right? And so that marriage didn't work out, and then he's now on his 3rd marriage. But,
And that's usually the norm as well.
mhm,
Mm hmm.
right.
So, what do you think about all of this that goes on in our world today where divorce has been made so easy and so okay? Do you think it's okay?
I don't think it's okay, but it's crazy how people think it's okay, and they just go on about their life. Like, I had a hard time after my divorce. Like I said, I waited a year before I even decided to date somebody, but he moved on, like, quickly and was with someone immediately. Like, it's like they'll already have it lined up to the next one, to the next one. When the next one doesn't work out, there's somebody else. I just don't know how they can do that, how someone can do that, just get over it. Or it seems like they're over it, but really, I don't think they are. They're just pushing it down or blocking it or something. The
Well,
pain.
yes, I absolutely agree. Women go through, they're very emotional creatures to begin with. So they go through the process of that. So during a divorce, this is what I've discovered in all the research because I didn't want to do this. When
Mhm.
God told me that I needed to do this and talk about marriage and divorce and stand up for marriage,
Mhm.
I have that on recording. That is what I told my husband the day that he left here.
Wow.
That God was telling me stand up, not
Mhm.
just for our marriage, but marriages
Yes.
everywhere. And I thought, and I fought myself, honestly,
Mhm.
Jenny, about doing a podcast and being open about that. And I said, how can I do that when I'm divorced now? How can I do that when I'm divorced now?
Right.
But God sees it differently.
Yeah.
And I'm so excited about some opportunities that I've been given with Coalition for Divorce Reform.
Mhm.
I am going to initiate that sort of thing in the state of Oklahoma or
Mhm.
try to. So I need prayer for that, please, because that is not going to be easy. Because did you know that we're second in the United States as far as divorce is concerned?
Wow.
hmm And Senator Dusty Devers just tried to get a bill passed that he wrote on covenant marriages. And it's just a choice. A couple could choose to have a covenant marriage and have a wait time of, I believe, 1 year before they divorce and just go through a process of things before they really decide to call it quits. And that went dead even through the first process of it. Because you know who is in politics for the most part? Men.
True.
men.
Mm.
And Devers, Senator Dusty Devers, when I asked God, I was driving down the road one day a few weeks ago, and I said, "Are you sure you want me to keep doing this? Because it's not easy for me to say the things that I know that I have to say." And I was in the car, and Dusty Devers was a guest on a radio show.
Mhm.
And he said that the reason that he believed it didn't pass, and he probably knows more inside things than I know, is because the attorneys here in the state did not want it passed.
Hmm.
And they don't, because they make a lot of money. And why
Right.
did the state want it passed? Because they collect a lot of taxes from the money that the divorce attorneys make. I mean,
Yeah.
it is just nothing but a huge business. People think that the pharmaceutical business is a big business. Well, I have news for you. Divorce is a big business.
Mhm.
And then, as far as the behavior between dating, I hear the same things that you're saying that go on. And I mean, I tried getting on a dating site right after it's over. I mean, I've had men try to have a relationship with me, but I mean, the first thing they do want to talk about is sex. I'm like, what's wrong with you?
Right.
You don't even know me. How dare you say anything like that to me?
Mhm.
But you know what? I am so encouraged because I know who can change all this.
Mhm.
It's women. We
Right.
give birth to everything. And if women don't supply men will have to start behaving different.
Mhm.
And I mean, Bill Federer, who has written 26 books and he is an expert on history, I heard him on a podcast and he said the exact same thing. So we just need to come together, stand together, and fight for what's right.
Mhm.
And that's our worth and value.
Mhm.
And then stand up for that because we deserve God's best life and best love
Mhm.
in our lifetime.
Right.
And that means, and finding a spouse as well, and
Right.
making sure if we're a believer, making sure that person's a believer.
Yes.
People aren't believers, let them do whatever they want to do. That's their business.
Mhm.
But especially for believers, I just say we have to start coming together as women. And I mean, don't date someone that's going through a divorce. Don't
Right.
date someone without finding out how they really believe about marriage and how they believe, first of all, about God.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
So that we can do something different.
Yes.
So I'm excited about doing that. And I'm also excited about a woman that I met, Dr. Christine Bacon, that is her mission that God has given her is to save 1 million marriages before she leaves this earth. She's a relationship expert. And she was a prodigal, a runaway prodigal herself. And
Mm.
she and her husband were able to come back together and work things out. And now they've been married for over 35 years.
Wow.
So I can't wait to have her on.
Mm.
She'll be on pretty soon. And for her to explain why she is standing up for marriages as well. So I'm just so excited that you made that phone call to me
Mhm.
and then you accepted my invitation because I think that we have a phone number, by the way, you guys. It's on the website. And if you want to do what Jenny has done, because with her having the courage to come and have a conversation with me, lets everybody out there know, all other women know,
Mhm.
you're not alone. You know,
Right.
we go through things and we make mistakes, but that doesn't mean that we can't do something different because we can.
Mhm.
So, this is what I would ask you is what do you want to tell women out there about what would you say to a woman out there that is like us?
Try to get involved in something at your church or some kind of support group like this is get connected with other women who've gone through it. Get your relationship close to God and pray, and He will give it to him and he will help you get through it. And like you said just a moment ago, don't date people who are not a believer. Really don't jump into that too fast with the dating scene. Like I did that for me, for my just waiting a year to like get over it and kind of work on myself, counseling or, church, whatever. Listening to podcasts like this is helpful. And I don't think it's an accident that I have a new friend now with Cinderella and that her. And it, it's just great to talk about it. And I feel that it will help.
Yes, doesn't it help you to know that? I mean, we as women just go around assuming when we see other women, just because of outward appearances, that they got it all together and everything is fine,
Right.
and we become so afraid about being open and honest about things. But until we are, just like I have been in the podcast, just like you have been today,
Mm-hmm.
it gives hope and encouragement to other women to do the same and to know that there truly is hope out there,
Mm-hmm.
and we just have to stand together
Right.
to do it, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I just want to thank you so much, Jenny, for coming on today. And I hope to have you back again. And I look forward to our developing friendship and what that has to bring as well. And that's why we do what we do at Cinderella Tats, because it's all about life, love, and relationships. Until next time. If you enjoyed the show today, share it with your friends so they can listen in to our conversations about life, love, and relationships. Follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Cinderella Chats, the podcast. Don't forget to subscribe. We look forward to our Tuesdays together and know you will too.